Greetings, fellow crafters. Here's Pirated. Today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit more about how to combine Worbla with foam. What we're going to start out with is the pieces that we've already crafted. We've got our contact cement here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to pull the foam out. And you can see on the inside I had to go back in here, add a few more pieces of Worbla just to stabilize it and keep it held together, especially around those corners. But what we're going to do, first off, is take a close look at where the foam actually connects with the Worbla. By placing it on here, you can see that there's a nice little connection right there. So we're going to add some contact cement there. On the underside, we've got connections in the side and in the back and on the two sides here. So, to begin, there's a reason this stuff is called contact cement, meaning that when it dries, the cement will actually bind to itself. So, let's get started here. Just apply a little bit here on the inside. And as a more experienced craftsman than myself has said, when buying your contact cement, you do not want the water-soluble stuff. You want the flammable stuff, the stuff that's hazardous to your health if you inhale its toxins for too long. Alright, so that's got the part on the inside. Now for the top here, get a nice even coat. Now, a lot of folks will come in, do 2-3 coats of the contact cement. You can do that. I have no problem doing that. But for the sake of these videos, I'm only going to go with the one coat in the video and just add more as needed. So, we've got that part done. It's going to take just a moment for that to kind of cool down, or set as you want on my side. So, what I'm going to take now is our little heat gun. Turn it on low heat and just do it directly onto the glue. If you do high heat, you may wind up causing your Worbla to lose shape, and you don't want that. Alright. So, we've got our top. Now let's get here in the back and here. And it's okay to take a couple of minutes in between gluing these sections. That way the glue has a little bit more time to set as well. And I do apologize that it's taken a little bit longer to get this video out than the last one. I've had a few technical issues with a few files being corrupted, so I'm repairing those and trying to get that video pushed out, hopefully in the next day or so. This video will hopefully be ready to go before then. So, got that. Alright, so alright, that glue is ready to be set. So just gently put it in position, because once this stuff adheres, it's not coming loose. There we go. And you can see we've got a nice connection up here in the front. And we've got a nice connection in the back. The sides I'm going to have to do a little bit work on. I've still got to add one more piece to the bottom of the helmet to extend it out some more. But that's good for the gluing. Now you just want to let this set for a few minutes. That way the glue has time to fully seal. And we'll come back to this in just a moment. Alright, for this next part, what we're going to do, we're going to come back to our craft foam here. And now we're going to begin construction on the bottom part of the back half of the shell. Now, a little thing that we're going to do different than we did for the actual rounded piece on the shell is on the bottom, it's going to be completely flat, it's going to be completely straight and mesh up perfectly with the sides here. Now, one thing I just noticed, if you look closely, you can see where the Worbla kind of tore here. That's not a problem. That can be patched up by just adding a little teeny tiny bit of Worbla to cover it. So, I'll take care of that as I'm fixing this. Now, if you remember, last time around, we needed 21.5 inches, which is a problem because our little sheet of foam only comes to 18 inches. What I wound up doing last time is I cut off the additional 2.5 inches by the same 3 inches. So I'm going to do the same thing for this piece. Take our pen, mark out the 3-inch mark here, and just follow suit That way it gives you something you can line the ruler up with as you're going along. Now the nice thing about using foam, doesn't matter how many marks you make on it, there are always ways to cover them up. So don't be afraid to mark your materials as much as humanly possible. Alright, so now just get these lined up. Now we take our X-Acto knife and just cut along the line. Now don't be too concerned if your line's not perfectly straight. Again, you can. There are going to be imperfections. Honestly, the imperfections are what make it yours. Don't worry too much about being absolutely perfect. God knows I am not perfect in any shape, form, or fashion. I've got a string of X's that can attest to that. Here, just follow along. Alright, get that out of the way, trim this down a little bit. But see how easy this foam cuts? You don't have to do a lot. So now, we grab our Worbla. And I'm actually going to show you this time how easy it is to reuse Worbla. As you can see, this is a scrap. These are scraps. I'm going to be using these scraps to coat this foam. So, to begin, we need our heat gun. Now, one other thing, don't be afraid to cut your Worbla when it's nice and hot. Reason why is because hot Worbla is about the same consistency as your craft foam. Cold Worbla is about the consistency of triple ply cardboard. It's going to be a little bit harder to cut, and if you don't know what you're doing, you might hurt yourself. Alright, so now that that's nice and toasty, take our foam, place it on one side, and again, kind of work it in so you get as few air bubbles as possible. And while the Worbla is still nice and warm, go ahead and fold that over. Blast the seam with your heat gun. And I may have said this before, but use proper safety precautions when dealing with a heat gun. It gets hot. That's why it's called a heat gun. So if your body is not used to absorbing large temperatures in a short period of time, don't do this. Use gloves. Something or heat resistant. Thermal gloves work fantastically. Alright. Now it's going to take me just a moment to get this completed, so I'm going to pause the video here once I get it done. With this section at least, I'll come back and I'll show you how to merge the two sections together. As you can see, we're going to have a seam here. I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, so now we've got this part taken care of, so we're going to put these two together in order to create a new seam and cover up the seam. What I've done here, I'm actually playing around with this in the side, but what we're going to do, we're going to blast this piece here with a little bit of heat. Get it nice and soft. And this stuff will just break like easy cheese. So, just going to salvage a little bit off of this, add that to my little roll I got going over here. Alright, so to begin, heat up the bottom part. Lay your semi-finished piece on top of it. Again, work it in so you get rid of air bubbles. Heat up your top part. And be careful with your heat guns, depending on the strength of them. Some of these can get up to, I think, 120 degrees Celsius, which normal people cannot handle that much heat in such a short area. So just lay that on there, work in the sides. Now, I've intentionally made sure that this little corner here is separated just slightly. Reason for that is because I'm going to show you in just a second. Actually, let's do that now. Yeah, this stuff, when it gets nice and warm, will stick to anything. Blast that with the heat. Don't let it sit too long though. Otherwise, you're likely to set your Warbler on fire. But since it's still warm, just go ahead and apply it directly to the area. Now, tell me, how easily can you see the seam of where I just laid that? The answer? Not very. That's the point. Now this seam here in the middle, I'm going to go ahead and blast that with some heat. And just work at it for a second. Don't know how many of you have grandmothers that used to bake bread, but you're going to need this stuff like they would need the dough. Constantly pushing, stretching, and there you go. That seam has all but vanished. So let's take a look at the back side. As you can see, pretty deep seam there. So we're going to do the same thing. And you know what I just realized I forgot to do? I forgot to add in the end piece. It's supposed to go right there. Extend this out a bit. Not a problem. Mistakes happen. Like I said, if you're not making mistakes, you're doing something wrong. Alright, so to fix this mistake, remember how I said that warm Warbler is easier to cut than cool? There's your proof. Alright, so just gonna fold that over there, fold this over here, and I'm going to repeat the steps that I did on this to kind of meld these seams together. But I will see you soon. Thank you for watching, and be sure to keep tuned for my next video.